All the visa application rejections I've gotten in the past was due to proof of funds. Until after I learned these few tips, I've never had a visa application rejection. Keep watching. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Mills and I'm back with another video. So today I'm going to be talking about proof of funds. When we talk about proof of funds, when it comes to visa application, we're talking about your finance. I'm going to be talking about all the tips we need when it comes to proof of funds for any type of visa. I'm going to be talking about tourist visa, student visa, and work visa. I'm going to press more emphasis on study and tourist visas because for work visa, you don't need to prove too much finance. Proof of funds is one of the main requirements, if not the most important requirement when it comes to a visa application. It plays 70% role of your visa application, except you're coming from a country that has visa restriction. The more stable your finance is, the easier your visa approval rate is. I'm telling you this from experience and from many people I've been working with. I'm going to be giving you some tips on things you should do and things you should not do when it comes to proof of funds. When it comes to proof of finance, there are many ways you can prove. You can prove them through bank statements, through salary pay slips. You can prove through property sales. You can prove that using tax declarations. You can prove that using pension funds, just to name a few. Going to be focusing more the main proof of funds that every embassy always asks for, and that is the bank statement. All the other proof of funds could be an additional document to prove that amount of income that comes into your statement. For all the visa applications you'll be doing, there's always update and submit a bank statement for a certain period of time. It could be 30 days, it could be 90 days, it could be 180 days, it could be 1 year, depending on the type of visa in which you're applying for. So we're going to start with the first one. It is very important that you have an account that is from a main bank of the country where you're living in. Government banks, private banks, most embassies always stress on the fact that you should use main banks, not financial institutions or e-banking or credit unions and so on. So the second tip is the currency. It is very important to use the local currency of the country which you'll be doing the visa application from. For example, if you're in Europe, you should have a euro account. If you're living in the country that uses the US dollars, you should have a dollar account. If you're living in the country that uses naira, then you should have a naira account. If you're living in the country that uses the reals, then you should have a Brazilian real account. If you're living in the country which uses Thai baht, you should have an account that uses the Thai baht. You can have multiple banks, but you should have an account which uses that currency from the country which you're applying from. Except, for example, if you're going to North America, then you have a dollar account, is okay. If you're going to Europe, then you have a euro account, then that's fine. I could be in Brazil, I have a Brazilian real account. I also have a European account. I also have a CFA France account. I can submit all those multiple bank accounts, but my main account should be in reals. The next tip is for you to plan ahead of time. Be it a tourism trip, a student trip, a work trip. Most of the times they always tell you to submit 3 months bank statement, 6 months bank statement. Some countries will tell you to submit 1 year bank statement, depending on how they see the bank statement that you submit. If there's any red flag, they might tell you to update it 6 months behind just to see what is happening. If you're going to study in a country, plan at least 6 months before time on how to work on your bank statement. The next tip is to have a bank account under your name. Even if there is a main sponsor, it's always good to have a bank account under your name. In the case of a student visa, it is very important to have a bank account under your name because you will be needing transfers to your bank account, especially if you're going to apply for tourist visa, except you have a sponsor who is your immediate family member like your spouse or your child. The next next tip: do not deposit large amount of money towards the time of application of your visa. This is the biggest red flag, and this is a mistake that most people do. You leave your account 00000, and towards your visa application time you deposit large amount of money. This is a big red flag, and this is why majority of the people get rejection or get a visa denier. The reason why they ask for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year bank statement is to see that flow of income in and out, in and out, in and out. Except you are a student and you have a sponsor who transfers this large amount of money into your account. And that has to be pointed out when you're doing your introduction letter or your cover letter. You need to specify that your sponsor made this large amount of money into your account this day with this reference number, and they're going to check to make sure your bank statement and your sponsor's bank statement matches that large amount of money. So if you show your bank statement and the sponsor's bank statement with that huge amount of money transferred from your sponsor to you, that is a very good proof of finance. But if you're going for tourism and submit that large amount of money, it's a red flag. Majority of the times when the visa officer looks at intended period of travel, they calculate the amount of money that you can spend for that amount of time. You're going to be traveling for a 10-day trip, and 1 day is $150, so you should have $1,500 in your account. The visa officer will look at your balance, start checking your transactions, your inflow and outflow. Especially the inflow, when they see a large amount of money that comes in towards that time or the last 2 months, they start thinking that you made that large amount of a transaction just for the visa. This is what also causes delays of your visa decision. They might leave the application there for like 2 months or 3 months, and after that, after maybe 6 weeks to 2 months, they're going to tell you to update your bank statement. In some cases, they're going to tell you to further explain where that huge amount of money came from. The next point which I want to talk about is about sponsors. When it comes to work visa, of course, you don't need a sponsor because you're going there to work. And when it comes to tourism, some embassies will even write like you shouldn't have any sponsor. If you want to have a sponsor, it should be an immediate family member. For example, my spouse can be my sponsor, my child can be my sponsor. Tourism is something that you do during your vacation, you have free time, you have a sabbatical, and you want to actually travel. You should be a self-sponsor. Except in the case where maybe a friend wants to sponsor your trip, the friend should also be among the people who are doing the visa application as well. For example, it could be a trip where you get married and somebody wants to sponsor your trip, or it's your birthday and a friend wants to sponsor your trip. The sponsor should also be among the people who are doing the trip. That will make it a little bit stronger. When it comes to student visa, sponsorship is very important. But if you're going for a course that is 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, and you have enough finance to cover the entire program, then you can be your self-sponsor. And in that case, you need to prove finance for the entire program. In the case where your source of income is going to cut off while you go to school, then you'll be needing a sponsor. So if your program is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you need to prove finance for a year. In this case, you'll be needing a sponsor. The more documents the sponsor proves, the easier a visa approval. You have a sponsor who proves other things like employment, tax declaration, tax return, salary slip, business, property, sales, and all those things. The more the financial assets, the easier your visa is going to be approved. In most countries in Europe, you can have a sponsor who is a citizen of that country or has a permanent residency or residency in that country. And what this person has to do is the person has to go to the immigration and say that they want to sponsor you. So they're going to calculate the person's finance and make sure that the finance is okay for them to take care of themselves and you. So if that is finalized, they're going to give you a letter of sponsorship. Let's go to the next tip, which is the amount of money you need to prove. The more the money, the easier the visa application approval. When it comes to the amount, let's start from work visa. Work visa, you don't really need to show much because you're going to be working. So what they want you to show is just a small amount of money that will take you for the first month until when you get settled, then you start getting your salary and so on. Especially if you're going for a job that does not provide accommodation, transportation, then you just need to show a small amount of money that will cover those expenses before you start working. The amount that you're going to be submitting for the tourist visa depends on the country you're applying the visa for and the amount that is always given per day. For example, in Brazil, tourism is $150 per day. So if you're going to spend 10 days, you should have at least $1,500 in your account. If it's 2 people, you multiply by 2. If it's a family of 3 where you have children, the children will be half the amount of the adult. So $75 for a child. And if you have 3 children times 3 plus the 2 adults and you multiply by the number of days you'll be spending for your visit. When it comes to amount in your bank statement, it should not be that exact amount, especially if you're going for tourism purpose. You don't want to spend all your money for tourism purpose. So if you're expected to prove $1,500 and you have times 3 of that amount, $4,500, that is going to be great, because if you take off the 1,500 from the 4,500, you still be left with 3,000 in your account after you return back from the trip. So you can multiply by 2 or by 3. When it comes to the student visa, the amount depends on the school which you're going to study as well as the country which you're going to. For example, in North America, it comes with your admission letter. They always do an estimate of the amount of money you'll be requiring per year or per semester, depending on the school which you'll be attending. I say, okay, for this year, you'll be paying $13,000. So at least you should prove $13,000 for that year. If you have a sponsor, make sure the sponsor sends that amount of money into your account. The sponsor should have 2 or 3 times that amount. In countries like in Europe, they'll also give you the entire money per year. They might say 8,000 euros. So you need to prove that you have 8,000 euros. In some countries in Europe, like in Germany, they'll tell you to open a block account in Germany and transfer that amount of money to it. The last tip I want to talk about is if you have multiple streams of income, prove all of that. Like I said, the more proof you have, the more stable your finance is, and the easier your visa application is going to be approved. For example, you're working, you have a business, you're earning money, you have a property rental, you're earning money. You can show all those multiple incomes. If you have your business registration, your tax declaration for your business, the business bank account, then you have your personal account. You can also have multiple currency accounts. You can also present that. The more the income, the more stable your proof of funds is. So with all those different tips which I've given, if you actually follow them closely, it's going to be easy for you to get any visa to any country. Like I said before, except your country has some visa restrictions, which will make it a little bit harder for you to get a visa. If student A and B are going to study masters for a 24-month program or a 2 years program, and they'll be needing to prove $10,000 per year, and the visa officer has only one visa to issue. If student A brings $11,000 and student B brings $25,000 and you are the consular, who are you going to give the visa to? If you have further questions, leave it in the comment section, and please, if you find this video interesting, make sure to leave a thumbs up, like, share, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so and hit on the bell notification so that you get updated every time I upload a new video. In that same light, ciao.